Good afternoon. Mark Steele, I'm coming to you to review some of the main highlights of our final phase of remote instruction for the course of this school year. I want to begin by talking to parents, and I'm going to speak from my heart. I know this year has been difficult. It has been difficult on administration, teachers, paraprofessionals, everybody associated with the school district. But more importantly, I know it has been a humongous struggle for parents having to either work from home and do remote instruction, or to be an essential employee and have to come home and work with instruction. We know it's not easy. We have been given the goal, by the governor and directive that we have to continue with our instructional plan to the end of the school year. So I apologize from the onset at how this year's gone. I apologize that we have another 5 weeks beginning yesterday with this final plan. And I think today what I want to do is, number one, I want to present the plan to you and how it's going to work. What are the changes compared to phase 1 and phase 2 plans? And number three, I want to cover the grading policy with you. This is important, and I could not do that until today because we needed a very important waiver vote from the Board of Education at last night's school board meeting. So if you would, bear with me as I go through this video. I think it will clear up a lot of concern, and I think it will ease your tensions as we go through how we're going to finish up the school year. First of all, we started in phase 1, as you know, with a 2-week stint where the Department of Instruction creating a learning phase where students could go online at various programs to maintain instruction. We shifted to phase 2, which was a more teacher-directed. Now, that began April 20th and was scheduled to run to May 15th. We were originally scheduled to come back to school on May 18th, which yesterday would have been our first day back. However, the governor closed these schools for the remainder of the year, and I'm sure you're aware of that. What you're going to see in the brand new remote learning phase that we're entering, starting yesterday up through June the 19th, the last day of school, is going to be 2 new types of activities in this program that are going to be different. One, we are going to be introducing new material. That I was hoping not to have to do remotely. However, once we cancel the schools for the end of the year, we have to do the best we can do to prepare our kids for the next year's grade level. So we are going to have to begin new material. We rolled this plan out to teachers and gave them about a week and a half to 2 weeks to start developing ideas, working in their PLCs and their grade level teams, and working with their administrative staff and their instructional support staff to make sure that they put together activities which would make this as easy as we possibly could to roll out to parents. The kids are not going to see a whole lot of difference. It's going to be the same types of activities they've been seeing, depending on elementary and secondary. Depends on the look that you're going to get. One would be more Schoology based. One's going to be more, based toward the elementary side of things. So there are just a ton of different things that we've done that really aren't going to look different to you as a parent, other than the material is going to be new and your son or daughter may need a little bit more help. Well, let me tell you that we are going to stand ready to have our instructional staff maintain phone contact with you, talk to you by email. They are to schedule office hours so that they have the opportunity to communicate with you. And if you have any questions or concerns, you certainly should communicate that to your child's teacher. We want to make this as seamless as possible. So realistically, you're not going to see a great deal of difference in the types of instruction and the type of platforms used during this final phase than what you saw during phase 2. So that's the good news. It is going to be new material. It may require you to take a look at what your kids are doing. If they feel the need for support, contact your child's teacher, and we will try to make sure to do everything we can to support those kids. Now, this also goes to the kids who don't have the internet affordability to do phase 3. We are also doing this by hard copy, which can be picked up at the schools. Contact the schools, it can be mailed to you, and we can take pictures, and the teachers can actually call and talk on the phone to help and assist your child as we go through this. So there are a lot of different steps and platforms that we have set up to help to get through this phase and to try to help parents as much as possible. Perhaps one of the biggest is we've tried to create a flexible schedule. We understand that some parents are remote working at home still. Some are essential and going back to work. Some have been working the entire time. I know from our end on an employment status, many of our teachers have children. So many of our teachers are preparing the remote learning for all of our kids at all levels. And at the same time, they're having to make sure that their children are completing the remote learning that their teachers are creating for them. So we understand what you're going through. And I'm sorry we all have to go through this. I truly am. I look at the situation and, it's just a very difficult situation for us to go through. But we're going to do everything possible, as I said before, to make this as seamless as we can. Now, the first big change, as I said before, is you're going to see new material introduced. Again, our goal is to have your child ready to meet this marker by June 19th, so that when next year rolls and the kids go to the next grade level, we'll be where we need to be. Now, to ease your mind a little bit going into next year, we always begin the year with a review, usually the first couple of weeks. We're going to be looking at that month of September to make sure we hit a very hard review on any new material that's going to be introduced during the next 5 weeks. We think we have the time, particularly with our elementary kids up to our 10th grade kids. We have the ability and the time. We know we can get those kids caught up. We believe we can do our 11th graders going into grade 12, but it's going to be a lot of work on our teacher staff and our support instructional staff. So please, anything you can do to help, the teacher and the staff is greatly appreciated. The second phase that's going to be different is going to be, we are introducing a new aspect in the final phase, and that is grading. Now, I want to assure parents from the onset, this is where a lot of anxiety is going to set in with you. But I want to explain to you the method of grading that we're going to do. Number one, your child will be getting activities through Schoology or one of the other elementary platforms we're using. May get it through Zoom with their teacher. In any way we've been delivering it, they will still get those types of activities. One activity per week, at least one activity per week, will be graded. We will grade that based on what is turned back on the platform used. If you have a situation where you don't have the computer available, but you have a cell phone, you can take a picture of that work and send it to the teacher. Or when the teacher calls, they can go over that work with you and to assimilate some type of grade for the work that you've done. Again, there's going to be one grade a week minimum that we will look for. Now, the way we're going to grade that is a basic rubric scale. Your child, at the end of that first week, will have the ability to take the graded assessment, either do well, not do well, or not turn it in. So the point values on the first week would either be a 2, a 1, or a 0 if nothing is done. We will continue that process over 5 weeks, which means your child could have the opportunity to earn 10 points, 2 points per week, which was the max score on the grading activity. You can also score points by just completing all of the activities. So if you take a look online at our final phase 3 of our remote learning, you'll see the breakdown rubrics on how this is going to happen. Now you ask yourself, what are you going to do with those points? We don't feel that we can hold our students to values and grades during the remote learning process in terms of their grades should not suffer. So the other night at the board meeting, or last night, I should say, we introduced a waiver of the IKA grading policy. And that waiver is very simple, and it will run for everybody at every grade level. We are looking at taking the average of the first 3 marking periods, and whatever that average is would be the grade for marking period 4. For kindergarten, who works with rubric scores, basically in reading, writing, and math, we would be taking the average of those rubrics on the report cards for the first 3 quarters, and we would take that average for marking period 4. Now, we won't necessarily enter that into eSchool. Teachers will maintain this average. If your child did absolutely nothing, their average is going to be whatever the average of the first 3 quarters are, would be the 4th marking period grade, and then those 4 grades would be average for the final grade. Now, to entice students to continue to work, to place a very important emphasis on how important it is that students participate in this remote learning, we're going to use the activity points, the remote learning points, are the activities and the graded activities that the students do between the 18th of May up through June the 19th. And those bonus points that they accumulate, which would be a max of 10 points over that 5-week period, would be added to their final grade. So let me give you an example of how the grading is going to work. Let's say Mark has a 80 average for the first quarter, second quarter, and third quarter. Well, automatically his 4th quarter marking period average would be an 80, which would give him a year average of an 80. However, if Mark completed the graded activities and successfully completed them, or he completed all the other activities that week to show that he is participating in remote learning, Mark would have the opportunity to earn 10 points that would be added to his final grade. So instead of having a final grade of an 80, my grade would be moved to a 90. We felt that was a fair way to grade, so students would not be punished because we were hit with the COVID-19 virus and we had to remote learn. So again, the 4th marking period will be the average of the first 3, and then those 4 grades average together for the final grade. Participating in the remote learning will add bonus points to the final grade for any student who completes the activities, who especially does well on the graded activity per week. Again, those remote points can add up to be 10 total points. So basically, we can almost say you can raise your grade in a course a whole letter grade by doing well and completing all of the activities. This is very important that we would not go over 100 average for anybody. 100 would be max. That way, we would not have a differential when in calculating GPAs at the end of the year, class rank for the secondary people, and those sort of things. So the max grade is going to be 100. And folks, what we're looking for is this, and this is what our entire phase 3 breaks down to. We don't want anybody's grade to suffer. We want children to be held harmless when it comes to, the effects of being out of class. So with that said, doing absolutely nothing, you would have an average of the first 3 quarters for the 4th marking period, and then those grades average for your final grade, which means there's nothing that's occurred since March the 13th when we're out of school that's going to hurt your average. We are providing the opportunity to gain bonus points because we feel that that is extremely important for students to do, primarily because we feel you must continue the remote learning for the new material. So we've had 2 questions, 2 differences in this particular phase. The first of these phases being, we will introduce grades, we will introduce new material. The second being children are going to be held harmless on what their average is for the year. And the remote learning grades or points will be added to the final grade to bump them up to a higher final grade if they participate in the remote learning and do well on the assigned value. So we've tried to make this as best we can. We've tried to make it as enticing as we can for parents. And at the same time, we've tried to do it in a way that we can even let this release a little pressure. Again, apology for having to go through this. It's nobody's fault. It's something that's happened that has happened in 100 years. And we just happen to be the one particular year where we got hit with a pandemic. But we're going to make this right with the kids, and we're going to continue to work with the parents. But I want to say that I've had a lot of positive remarks. I've had some concerns. We hear your concerns. But on our end, keep in mind, we are state employees. We are directed by the governor to finish our remote learning plan. We have to push forward. but we have designed this plan that I feel can do a lot of positive things for you and your child. So take the time to go on our website, irsd.net, under the new site, look at the new phase. The grading rubric should be in on how we're going to do that, and it's all very self-explanatory. We started this not knowing where we were going to go back on March 13th. And now we found out that we have the school year ending, and we've had students impacted with graduations, with proms, with senior awards assemblies, concerts, everything you can think of. No one group has lost, everybody has lost. But we can make this right, and we can make it a valuable lesson if we work together to finish this project off. So please join me and my staff in putting together a 5-week push to make sure we do everything within our power to get our kids to where they need to be. Thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to contact your school administrators. You could also contact any member of the Department of Instruction by email or myself. We would be more than glad to answer any question you have as we move forward with this endeavor. Thank you and have a good day.